Hello, everyone. Welcome to our not technically first, but I'm starting a new schedule type of deal where I'm going to talk about the MCU also, but it's not. It's going to be every 2 weeks because there's not too much for me to I want to talk about now that I talked about some of the castings I want. But I want to talk about the Fantastic Four today, and this is my dream castings. Now I don't think these are actually likely anymore. I think like one or two of them are, but I think it's definitely no longer as likely as I thought they were maybe a month ago, maybe 2 months ago. So I just want to talk about who I would want for my Dream Fantastic Four. Little background: Fantastic Four used to be my absolute favorites. I even had a Fantastic Four birthday when I turned 4. I liked them so much when I was younger. So I want to talk about who I would want for Fantastic Four. So let's dive right in to Mr. Fantastic. I chose John Krasinski. Obvious choice. He played him. I think everybody picks John Krasinski. I want John Krasinski because I thought he had a lot of potential from Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness did him no justice whatsoever. I think that he plays the more serious Reed Richards and a little more of a arrogant Reed Richards, which is what I want because ignorant and arrogant are very different. Reed Richards is very, very smart, but lacks common sense sometimes, and he lacks the ability to read situations sometimes. And I think a more serious Fantastic Four is what I'm shooting for, which is precisely with these castings. I think Human Torch makes a good comedic relief, and I think the thing should have moments. But Reed Richards should really be more of the focal point for the seriousness. Now, going on to Invisible Woman, I'm sure it's pretty obvious. I got Emily Blunt. I think Emily Blunt and John Krasinski can bring that real life romantic type of level, similar to Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone. I think she's a great casting choice, though I don't think, like John Krasinski, she's very likely. I don't think she wants to. And with John Krasinski probably not doing it now, I don't see why she would do it without her husband now. So I know she's very popular and she's another one like that, but for me, I think she would fit. She fits well with John Krasinski if you've seen Quiet Place and Thrillers, and I think that she would have a good role, and I think she could play a good sister to Human Torch. Moving on to Human Torch, I got Zac Efron, another pretty popular choice. I think Zac Efron fits the cocky, funny vibe, and with him being a pretty big actor as well, I think that he fits with them as well. And I think Zac Efron knows how to be serious as well. So I think he can fit with the rest of the team where he doesn't stick out as just a straight humor guy. And he's young enough to where they can use him for a while. And I think Reed Richards or John Krasinski and Emily Blunt are young enough too to where they can play them for a while. I really like the casting for Zac Efron. I think he could go with almost any team, but I think he goes much better with the Fantastic Four I have built. Going on to the Thing is definitely not a choice probably anyone would make, and I chose Leroyce Hopkins. If you've seen Chicago PD, he is he plays a good justice type of guy, and I think he fits the role of the Thing very well. I think he could play the Thing's misunderstood role especially, and I think that I think with the Thing, I think the biggest thing about him is his little rivalry he has with the Hulk is pretty cool and with Johnny, but I think that he can really show the human side of the Thing, and I think he can show how the struggle really is. He's a very good actor. He's very good in the drama part of it, and I think that he would serve the Thing some justice because the Thing's really been good casted in all the movies. I think, but I think Leroyce Hawkins could take the seriousness up a level, and I think he fits much better with John Krasinski, Emily Blunt, and Zac Efron. So as far as the movie goes, I have 3 villains for this movie, but it's not what you think it is. Because 3 villains, unless it's Sinister Six, is quite a bit. And I'm gonna dive into who the main villain would be, and that's Mole Man. And of course, Danny DeVito will play Mole Man. It's a role meant for him. I think Mole Man's a one-off villain. I don't think he's big enough, really, and a lot of people don't think he's big enough to even be the main villain. But I think he should be. But Mole Man won't be operating everything. Someone's going to be operating in the shadows. And I think that that's going to be obvious who that is here soon, but he's going to be operating from the shadows. Mole Man will be the second villain to appear. He's going to be the main villain, and he's kind of a misunderstood guy who's thought the Fantastic Four was the reason why certain events are happening in the movie, like why he's forced to come to the surface world. Now, the first villain that is going to pop up in this movie is going to be a very small villain who gets taken down within the first like 10 minutes, and then he's taken to the Fantastic Four building, and that's going to be Dragon Man, played by J.J. Watt. J.J. Watt just recently retired, so he doesn't have to worry about that. Dragon Man's the type of guy who can be played by a football player because of the physical stature, the intimidation, and simply because he doesn't have to act good to be Dragon Man. Dragon Man is a villain that I think is very underrated, and I think given circumstances he could be a hero. I have a whole thing to make a video about, but I really like the idea of Dragon Man being at least in it and hinted at having a role in the future, though I don't know when that role would be. Now, the obvious main villain of the whole thing, Doctor Doom. And I have him played by Giancarlo Esposito. Giancarlo is highly recruited to play Professor X, and I think that's very likely. However, I really like the idea of him as Doctor Doom. He plays such a good villain, and I know he wants to play a hero, so I think this is very unlikely. Honestly, I think Zac Efron and Danny DeVito are the most likely ones out of these. But I really would love to see him as Doctor Doom. I think he'd play a perfect Doctor Doom, and I think Doctor Doom needs to be a villain. They've tried making him the main villain right away, and it hasn't worked. He needs to be someone we build towards. And whether that's with Kang, kind of similar to Kang, I think Kang is the main villain, it should be. But I think Doctor Doom is a good one to build, and we'll find out at the end of the movie. Reed Richards discovers that someone's playing in the shadows and provoked Mole Man, and we're gonna find out that's Doctor Doom after learning about the powers. Now, I want to dive in a little bit to what the plot would be for me, and I think how I would like it is that the Fantastic Four are in space when the blip happens, and they get blipped, all four. So after that, they're like, well, there's no point getting the satellite. They're gone. Well, the satellite, as they no longer watch it anymore, or station, I guess, moves towards the ultra ray light things. I can't remember what they're called. They give them their powers. They get blitzed back into that, and that's what gives them their powers. They come back. There you go. Fantastic Four introduced without the theory of we've always been here just in the shadows. I hate that idea. And I really hope Marvel doesn't go with it, but I have a feeling they will. But I like this idea better, and we find out Doctor Doom has always been there. He just has been watching everything. I like Doctor Doom watching stuff from the shadows. Only because I feel like it makes a lot of sense if he's the one orchestrating stuff. But with Thanos, he realizes he's probably not a match for Thanos, and he's just curious to see what happens. Or he gets blipped. Something like that. Doctor Doom is more of a complicated one, but I don't want them to fight Doctor Doom. Now, I think Doctor Doom would make sense at the end credit as we see him and we see Giancarlo speak. We hear him speak. Now, the last end credit scene would be a humorous one. I think it'd be hilarious if, because in the dreams where Doctor Strange talks about in his dreams when he dies, it's Sorcerer Supreme forcing him to die. I think it'd be interesting if Reed wakes up from a nightmare and wakes up Susan or wakes Susan up, and Susan goes, "What's going on?" He goes, "I just had a terrible dream where this witch ripped me in shreds." And something about Illuminati and Doctor Strange. And then he talks about how he has to pay him a visit. And I think that would make it very interesting because it would connect the multiverse more. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Comment down below who you want to be the Fantastic Four. Obviously, these are probably not going to happen. This is just who I'm thinking of. Thank you guys again for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video.